Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. It was bound to happen, but today we're going to take a look at the new Elder Scroll box. This is the plastic set. There are resin ones available. I believe those are only through Modiphius, who put this out. Looks to play kind of similar to their Fallout game, which I was actually a big fan of the rules. I have not had a chance to get to play it yet. And if you really want to hear me ramble on about the rules, because they were all included in their own special box, kind of like the old D&D box sets, by all means, let me know. I can do that if you guys are curious. But this here is what really interested me. This is their Dungeon Delve set, and that's one of the main ways to actually play the game. So in this, we have 8 plastic figures, and you'll notice there is a Dragonborn model right there. So what do we have in here? We've got the Dragonborn, a Draugr Overlord, 3 Draugr Warriors, and then 3 Skeleton Archers, as you can see right here. I didn't know that for sure because it's been a while since I played Skyrim or an Elder Scrolls game of any kind at all, so my recollection was a bit rusty. Let's take a look inside though. So like I said, there are no rules included with these. Everything is in the actual rule box. But look at this. Ooh. Hard plastic sprues. This is interesting. So we have, it looks like, are they all separated? Who's got the big shield here? Well, there's 2 models right here. Okay, I was thinking maybe this is going to be some kind of an independent sprue right here that's going to get separated later on. But it looks like it's just one of the Draugr. So, never mind. Hey, look at that. Okay. What parts of this? Putting together skeletons. So each model looks to be, well, with the exception of our Dragonborn and Overlord friend, looking at about, 5 to 7 pieces, but the Overlord and the Dragonborn are pushing close to like 10 or 12, it looks like. So yeah. Look like they're going to be good size. 30mm bases. They're not going to be on the smaller scale. They look to be like they're going to get closer to 30, 32mm models here. Skeletons look pretty decently stocky enough that they're going to actually support their weight. That's always a worry when it comes to skeleton models. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as flimsy as the old Wargames factory ones. I'm curious how they're going to stack up with the Wargames Atlantic ones. That's a kit that I need to get up here on this channel one of these days. But overall, I'm pleased. I like what I see. I don't recognize the frame. Usually you can tell right away who has put the plastics out just based on how the sprue is laid out. But this one doesn't look familiar. At first I was going to say it reminds me of the ones that Maelstrom's Edge has. But looking at it, theirs are a lot more like the old Wargames factory, especially how they pop on top of each other. That's just weird, useless trivia. I have no idea. If you guys are curious or you do know, by all means let me know, because I'm curious myself. Anyway, let's get these guys put together. I'll share my thoughts and let you see how they stack up to other models in my collection. So sit tight. Alright, we got our Barrow Delve all put together. So let's take a good look at them. We're going to start with the skeletons, just because they weren't the easiest. Couple things worth mentioning. So I did not have the box in front of me because I had the instructions, so I did not have a completed model to take a look at. I'm not 100% sure what direction the quivers are supposed to go or the bows are supposed to go, because looking at the artwork of the models here on the renders, it was kind of not telling enough. But you know what? It's not like it matters. So the thing is, these guys, after having built them, I gotta say, nice and sturdy for a skeleton. But one thing is, I felt the contact points were very, very thin. Patience is going to be an absolute necessity putting these guys together. If you are super impatient like me and you want to glue everything together all at the same time and you can't wait a few minutes to let things dry and set, you're going to run into some issues. The contact points, especially the arms tend to kind of slide into the other plates on the back of the rib cage, and there's just a teeny tiny little contact point there. Everything was getting all wobbly and bent and moving around with me trying to do that, so do take your time. The legs didn't have like any actual keyed part, they just kind of slide and melded together, so I just kind of smushed everything as best I could to make sure that the legs were level. And honestly, it makes it sound a lot worse than it really was. I think the biggest thing was just making sure that everything sits flush. That's a big one for me. I don't like models that are all janky looking. We don't want that. So yeah, you can see everybody's feet are where they should be, and their poses look pretty reasonable. Their arms are a little bit long and big, but you know, I don't mind the heroic proportions so much. The Draugr dudes, we'll put them up next. Most of them had to have their front half of the faces attached, which I guess wasn't a big deal because the back of the head was already part of the body. I'd say these guys were probably the easiest ones to put together. For the most part, their body was just one or two pieces. Maybe I had to glue on a leg, maybe I needed to glue a sword. I know this guy literally was just 3 parts. He was the body, the sword arm, and the offhand, and that was it. So that, really simple. This guy, a little bit more complex. Our third one, jury's out on that pose, but yeah, everything seemed to fit together decently. Again, the arms feel a little long for me, and I think it's just getting that proportion to make it look nice and, you know, 3D. And that's being nitpicky, but that's okay. I get to. And then there are the champions, and let's start with our Draugr boss guy. So, in the end, how many? 10 parts. 10 parts. This was nuts. Everything actually went together pretty decently, but yeah, you can see here, there's just a lot of pieces, and it didn't really seem like it needed to be broken down that strongly. So my recommendation is I actually glued the arm into the shoulder pad and then attached them. It seemed to work a little bit better. And then the legs, again, patience, just letting the parts dry before, you know, putting everything together. He wasn't too bad either. And then there was the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn clocked in at 12 parts. 12 parts for this I thought was a bit much. I had a hell of a time trying to get her skirt and legs all flush with each other. Eventually I did, and it was a big gooey mess. Everything else, you can see here, there's some leftover stringiness of the glue there. Everything else kind of fit in pretty decently. The shoulder pads, you know, went on nice and neat. Arm and the shield. Actually, the shield has a nice groove to show exactly where the hand needed to go, so that was a nice plus. It's just the legs and that skirt were a pain to get everything sorted out. And honestly, it felt like I was building a Malifaux model. And I'd say that actually about the whole kit. And I don't know if you're going to take that in a bad way or a good way. If you like intricate models, I mean, yeah, these two especially, I thought really, like I said, felt like a Malifaux model. Take that for what you feel. It can go both good and bad. I never felt like they were overtly complex like some of the other stuff that Wargames Factory produced, like, you know, the Kingdom Death stuff as well, or early Plastic Wild West Exodus. But yeah, I think these two were a little bit overproduced. Not that the result's bad, and not that it was super challenging. It was a bit more effort, I think, on my part that I really wanted to put forth for what seems like a nice introductory starter set. You get a little bit of variety, you get a main character, you know, you have everything you need to do the dungeon delve. It seemed like a little bit more effort was needed for a plastic kit, and I don't really mind that. And there's also, keep in mind, resin options as well. Now, I haven't seen those in the wild yet, but I am kind of curious just to see how they compare. I'm also curious if they have the scenic bases like a lot of the Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff does. I honestly don't know. And I'm sure if you're still watching, you're curious to see just how big these guys are. So I'm going to grab a whole bunch of models, and we will do that. We'll keep the more upright models here. You can slide off, my friend. So grabbing our traditional witch hunter. You can see, I think they're going to scale really well with current modern day Warhammer stuff. I do have a, oh gosh, what are those guys called? Blood Reavers? You can see here as a standard human, other than the larger base because he is on the 32mm. You know, I think he fits in pretty well. So if you wanted to mix and match these and throw in your own models, which I'm sure people will at some point, I think that's going to be a very viable option. Mantic models on Mantic bases, again, look to fit right in. Once again, the most electrifying presence in tabletop gaming experience, Bloody Bradigan Pit from Privateer as our baseline human. A little bit bigger, but then again, they're more of those heroic wargame proportions, so even then I think you can still probably get away with it if you want to throw some Crick stuff as, you know, opponents or whatever. With a Frostgrave model, I think the enemies, yeah, it works. The Dragonborn looks a bit better proportioned than our Frostgrave and some other North Star models. I mean, I like them. I think there's a place for them, but there's a much more modern aesthetic and sense of scale with these also being CG renders originally, but also I think just, you know, being based on the game. Let's go to the Fallout guy. Hey, what do you know? They fit right in. Homebrew mashup, you say? Possibly. Grabbing a WizKids half-orc that I painted like an orc. Wargames Atlantic, because I have that handy. I should get some of those Irish, maybe even the halflings. I don't know about the halflings, but yeah. So I think size-wise, these guys are going to fit in across a lot of different lines. If you've got a big fantasy collection, and if you're interested in the rules, I think you can really, you know, get a lot of bang for your buck with this. And like I said earlier, if you guys are curious about the rules and you want my opinion, I'll actually sit down and read it, but otherwise, we'll get to it eventually. Busting out my favorite Conquest guy because I really dig their sculpts. I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. They're a little bit taller. Definitely a bit meatier and bulkier, but yeah, when he's... Well, I guess a skeleton would be about the right size, wouldn't he? Yeah. Anyways, so overall, I gotta say, a promising start. Sadly, we only have human models so far, and at least from the looks of things, it looks like we're going to have every set with a hero-type character, and then a bunch of generic-styled grunts. And then we have the Stormcloaks, and there was another set that I can't remember, but to me, this one was the best value so far. Personally, I'm going to be holding out for when we start seeing some of the other races of the Elder Scrolls games, because it's not like it's only humans living around in Skyrim, and you guys know I just want the lizards and maybe some cats while I'm at it. We'll see. So, hopefully this is the beginning of something new and exciting, and I wish Modiphius all the best, because I do enjoy building their models, and would love to see more in the future. With that said, this is High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.